How you doing, guys? Eric from WorldOfWasteland.com. Made videos recently about how I really do think that, maybe I am a prepper, prone to foreseeing the end of the world potentially. And while I don't think the end of the world is coming, I do definitely think that we're in for a rough, next couple of years, potentially starting as early as before the end of this year, particularly with the financial markets. Obviously, we've got World War III happening all around us, and yes, I do think we are already in World War III. The only question is, how serious it's going to get. I think Canadian Prepper recently mentioned that Gerald Celente said that once the first nuke drops, that everyone will be saying World War III. Now, hopefully we can not have any nuke drops. I've mentioned that I agree with JJ that I think we're probably at like 50-50 over when there will be any kind of detonation. But 50 years from now, looking back, talking about World War III, I think that the date that they have for the start will be in the past from our current timeline, not in our future. It's already started. But here in the U.S., luckily, with all the craziness going on in the world, we still don't have a massive risk of, foreign troops on the ground, invasion, things like that. That's still just because of the nature of our country, the location, the geographics, the size, the distance from everything. It's still unlikely that we'll have like a real Red Dawn scenario. For us, the main risk here is the insane economic turmoil that we're likely to experience as the economy, and specifically the dollar, dies. And that's putting us in a position where, combined with inflation, that we're at a very interesting point where things are getting very, very expensive. But things haven't gotten quite bad enough yet that a lot of stuff you can still sell for inflated prices that are not going to be very useful or useful at all once things really take off, or go down rather, with what I would consider the collapse of the dollar, collapse of the economy. And we're actually seeing, so I think that there is a unique, probably brief opportunity to cash out in a lot of non-essential stuff, collector stuff, luxury goods, things like that, like real estate is another example probably right now, where prices are crazy high, but you can still get those. I think soon we're going to be in a position where the stuff that we need is getting more and more crazy expensive, but the stuff that we have and would be willing or able to sell, no one wants anymore. And you see that in all sorts of economic turmoil in any country across the world throughout history, where luxury goods, non-essential stuff, that becomes worthless, where stuff that everyone needs is all the same stuff that no one can get, that is super expensive. And recently we've seen the Rothchilds, there's tons of conspiracy theories about how they run the world, whatever. I don't buy into the fact that a lot of the stuff is overtly controlled, but obviously this is a oligarch type family that's been plugged into the banking system for generations. They obviously have more information about what's going on, the inner workings of the central banks and all this, than most of us average peons. So regardless of how much you think this is really all planned or controlled, either way they have a better idea probably of what's going on and what's going to happen than we do, or at least more of a heads up. And so they have recently, the Rothschilds family has had a huge auction for a lot of just these types of goods. It says a vast collection, this is from CNN, a vast collection of art, furniture, silver, ceramics, and jewelry long held in the private collection of the Rothschild banking dynasty sold for more than $62.6 million over several auctions at Christie's in New York. The sales, which concluded on Tuesday, marked the first dedicated auction in North America of works from the French brand of the longtime banking family. So, a lot of people are saying, like, why would a family whose combined assets are sometimes rumored to be in the trillions of dollars, why would they bother selling? What they don't need this money, do they? What's going on here? Honestly, I think this is just an example, and obviously this isn't their best stuff either. I think this is just an example of them seeing the writing on the wall and not being able to help it. They know that this stuff is going to be worth less in a few years, maybe even a few months, so they're offloading it now. I don't think it's a question of them needing the money. I think it's just a question of, if you have Biff's Sports Almanac book, are you really going to be able to sit on the sidelines and not bet on these games that you know the outcome of? So I think this is an example of that, where they know that this collectible art type stuff, furniture, art, jewelry, you know, that this is going to be worth a lot less, at least in real terms, in the coming years. So they're just going to sell it now. You know, obviously the stuff that they really like, maybe they're really prized. They're not selling everything they own, but just stuff that they don't need, that they know is going to be worth less. They can't help themselves and they're selling it now. And I really think that it's a prime opportunity for you, me, us to do the same if you have anything that falls into that category. Something like vehicles, real estate, I think will initially go way down in price because it's stuff that, when it comes down to it, you don't need extra vehicles. Most people don't need any vehicle a lot of times. And certainly families could get by with one if they had to, things like that. So when things really get tough, we're not going to see used cars going for these crazy prices anymore. So if you have extra, now may be the time to offload it. Residential and certainly commercial real estate that you don't have a direct need for, you can probably get a lot more for it now than you would be able to in a few years. This is not financial advice. This is just my expectations for the future. Things like artwork, collectibles, anything that you don't really need and is worth a lot now, I would seriously consider at least looking into selling that kind of stuff, because I think it's the beautiful time to pick up real assets if you can, and all of these collectible type things, even, you know, electronics, stuff like that people don't really need to survive, don't really need on their day-to-day life, but it's still really expensive right now. I would at least consider liquidating this stuff, just like these global banking dynasty people are doing. So you got to think, why would people who will be worth rumored trillions of dollars in terms of their whole family, why would they be selling off measly few dozen $1 million worth of stuff? And like I said, I just think they can't help themselves. I think they know it's going to be worth less in a few years, maybe even a few months, and that's why they're doing it. So I recommend at least something to consider, because I'm still expecting a pretty significant economic decline in the U.S. over the next few months, if not years especially. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. But no matter how wild it gets, you know that if you buy the Rule the Wasteland Survival Fishing Kit, you are guaranteed to survive. And if you do not survive, I will give you a full refund. Links in the description.